follows. Count 1, first-degree murder of Christine Melton. The defendant is hereby sentenced to death. Count 2, grand theft of a motor vehicle. The defendant is sentenced to 5 years imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections. Count 3, battery. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 364 days in the Lee County Jail. Count 4, first-degree murder of Diane Ruiz. The defendant is hereby sentenced to death. Count 5, the burglary of a dwelling. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 15 years imprisonment in the Florida Department of Corrections. Count 6, petty theft. The defendant is hereby sentenced to 364 days in the Lee County Jail. The defendant is given credit for all time served on this case on all counts. All counts are to run concurrent with each other, meaning at the same time. All statutorily mandated fines, fees, and costs as announced on the record are imposed, and the defendant is committed to the custody of the Department of Corrections for execution of this sentence.
Order in the court.
Let's discuss the case of Wade Wilson. In the evening of October 6, 2019, Wade Wilson went to an entertainment venue named The Buddha Live and met his girlfriend Melissa Montez there. After his girlfriend left, he met Christine Melton, where Wilson introduced himself as Junior. At that time, he did not have any tattoos on his face, and people found him charming and friendly. Wilson then took Christine to a nearby home where they were intimate, after which that morning, Christine and Wilson dropped off one of Christine's friends at her home. Christine was later found strangled to death in her home that evening. Wilson then went to his girlfriend Melissa's place of business, where he showed up in Christine's car and then tried to pull her into the car. And when she didn't comply, he punched, slapped, and choked her. Wilson then dragged Melissa upstairs and choked her against the wall. Wilson then punched Melissa, and the blood splatter stunned Wilson, and he fled the scene. After he fled between 9:30 and 11 a.m., Wilson spotted Diane Ruiz walking to work, and he stopped to ask her for directions. According to Wilson himself, he choked her in the car, rolled her out, and ran over her several times in an empty parking lot. And according to him, she looked like spaghetti after. He left her for the vultures to eat. Wilson was charged with the deaths of the two women. Wilson claimed he had nothing to do with the murders and that he was being set up. He then later attempted to escape jail while awaiting his trial. The jury ultimately found him guilty and recommended the death penalty. What do you think? Should Wilson spend the rest of his life in prison or be sentenced to death?